today are for a special panel discussion. Uh, this event actually is hosted by Talk Tech Foundation. This Talk Tech Foundation is an NGO company that we started recently with Ali and some of my friends that uh, s- some some of you maybe know them. But uh, the goal of this talk tech for you is just helping a student and new graduates and sharing some knowledge related to tech. And today we are having three amazing panelists. So um, yeah, each of these people, like they're bringing a unique story and they're sharing their story with us. So if you have any question related to the topic, you can ask anytime, and then each of them they can answer your questions. So let me introduce our panelist, Rodrigo. Um, Da Silva is from Fortinet, then Alberto Mango is from Douglas College, and Ali, you know Ali, most of you guys, you know Ali is from IBM. And thank you guys for joining us this session. And what we are talking today is about some of the challenges students are facing during um, like after graduation and finding jobs. So here I'm starting with Rodrigo because Rodrigo was a student at VCC and he was actually international student. So some of the students ask me, oh, how difficult it is for international student to find a job. Um, so Rodrigo can answer now all of these questions. So let's start with Rodrigo. Rodrigo, tell us a little about your story, challenges that you face after the graduation.
Yeah, sure. Should I turn on my camera or like,
Yeah, of course.
okay. So yeah, hello everyone. My name is Rodrigo and I work at Fortinet as a QA specialist and focusing on testing and automating cloud serves. So finding bugs and ensuring smooth system operation. So I collaborate closely with R&D and technical support to resolve issues effectively, test new features, and so on. Before that, I work at Global Relay as a network automation, creating scripts and tools to improve network and file management. Both roles have strengthened my troubleshooting skills and taught me a lot, like how work with different tech teams. So yeah, thanks Hamid for invite me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope I can somehow give you some ideas and answer some of the questions. Yeah, that's about me in a nutshell. And talking about my first job and how did I land in my first job? I got my first job here in Canada during my graduation, actually, but it wasn't that easy. So we know how hard it is to find a part-time job in tech. So what I did was just I was applying through companies page, mostly LinkedIn. So I was focused on getting to one interview at least. So once I got one, I knew that I had to do more than just answer questions. So instead of going blind and I carefully read the job requirements and try to understand exactly what they were looking for. And the funny part was what I did. I just create like a small lab on my own. So it was a real scenario where I could show what I know. So during the interview. So I remember someone asked me a question regarding, I think it was a Python and how could you use it to automate tasks with switches, network, device, firewall, and so on. So I knew that was the right moment. And I said, would you mind if I share my screen? I've built something that, I would like to show you. And I could see from their reaction that it made like a big difference. I think they were surprised at that time. So I'm not saying everyone has to do that, but I'm pretty sure that initiative, was what helped me to stand out and get the offer. So yeah, every interview, I like to make sure that during an interview, no matter the results, I want to leave like a good impression about myself. So it might not be the right moment, but they will for sure, remember that guy who did something unexpected. So my takeaway would be like, do something unexpected, you know.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Uh, yeah, some of the things that really happens during the interview. You mentioned a very good point that you created like a home lab and show to like employer that you can do something. So that was perfect. So let's go to Dan, and Dan, please introduce yourself and give us like some introduction, how you get into this job. I know that this is your probably your second job, maybe third job. So um,
Can you hear me?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, I guess we can say that this is my third job. I was also an international student. I'm under my postgrad work permit right now. So, yeah, just like what Rodrigo said, that's one of the key things here is that whenever you're applying, everyone gets the same set of questions. I just wanted to jump into it because I might forget, but this is one of the key things that would make you stand out as an applicant. Be unique, because he just jumped in and said, "Oh, would you want me to explain this to you, or would you want me to, make a suggestion out of something?" I mean, that would definitely leave them an impression. Yeah, because just to go back, just to introduce myself, I've started with Douglas College as a computer technician, as a desktop technician. So I'm the guy who goes under the tables, fix your computers. It's a good start. I mean, most of the students that I meet uh, back in VCC, they're okay. But in BCIT, I've heard some of the students say that, "Oh, I'm gonna graduate, but I'm not gonna take a service desk job." Oh, no, no, that is a mistake, because everyone starts somewhere, and if you don't start somewhere, you don't gain your experience, you don't get known in the industry. Nobody would know you as to how you work, no matter how little your task is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've started with desktop support, and you know, I got another interview before I got my position as an information security analyst in Douglas, but it's the same thing that you have to go through. It's also an interview. It's not something that they just offer you because you're already an employee. You have to go through the interview. So when it comes to applying for jobs, it will be hard, but um, you have to learn from your mistakes. For example, after every interview, I keep a note of what were the questions, how did I deal with the question, where did I stutter, what was I missing, what did I not know. So one of the common things is we don't review the job description before we join the interview. We apply for the job, we got a call, we will be interviewed, but nobody reads the job description again. And basically that's the set of questions that you will get during your interview. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you can, make it a point to save the job description before they take it down from their posting. Yeah, I hope I answered some of your questions, or I don't want to go
Yeah.
too far from the
Yeah.
topic.
We are, don't worry, we are asking more question coming up. Yeah. So, um, Ali, you stay with me a lot, like until maybe after these two gentlemen leave the session. Maybe you stay with us, you answer more questions after that. But because Rodrigo has 1 hour and then maybe they're working today, so I'm asking more questions about these two these two guys, and after that I ask some questions from Ali. Rodrigo, so you I know because we were being in touch a lot. I want to just talk about like how important it is getting some certificates. Um, like when you are applying for some networking jobs, or for example, when you're applying for as a cybersecurity person, what do you think that certificate is very, very important, or just a kind of things that we should put it on there our resume?
Well, I think it's very important. I would like to start, just mention that it's very important. I know we have a lot of certifications which sometimes make even like us students very confused. Where should we start, right? So which one should I take first? So I like to to take an approach like start with some certification that is not tied to any vendor first, more theoretical, solutions and how you show some knowledge, for example, in cybersecurity in general, not just a specific vendor, because sometimes you're not always going to find a job position where you have the customer has that technology, right? That product. So that's why you have to save time and build some knowledge, some certifications. So start first with some, theoretical certifications. And once you get some of those, then you might move, for vendors, for more specific, for those one that you want to become an expert, for example, like firewalls and so on. uh, but I think it's very important, and it's a way how you show the employer how you have that knowledge, right? Especially when you are trying to get into the market, into the field. No one knows you, right? It's your first time applying for a job, and the real challenge is for like from both perspective, it's pretty hard how they're gonna trust you, how they're gonna make sure that you have that knowledge that you were saying you have. So the certification will give them some kind of credibility and show, oh, okay, that guy has done, a few certifications. And yeah, just, make sure to be ready, because during the interview, they're gonna ask some question to make sure that you have that knowledge. It's not just, oh, I'm going to do that certification, put on my profile, put on my resume, and I'll send over. That's it. So most of the companies, I mean, at least on our interviews that I've done, they're going to ask you some questions just to confirm that you really have that knowledge.
Mhm. So you had a lot. I know that you had a lot of certificate related to Splunk, and you also very good at like some technical stuff. So um, you had both experience and also certificate. Um, so when we are reaching to this question that okay, you had all of the qualification, so why in Canada it took a long time for you to get a job? You know, um, what was the main reason? Um, what do you see that what was the gap um, that you face during each interview?
I would say the first thing, I usually don't want to blame anyone, but it's like the way that the system works, it's pretty hard to find like a tech job when you can only work as a part-time. So most of the company they're hiring, I'm talking about during the time that I was a student, right? So Most of the companies, they are looking for someone that can commit like full time. So that's why I think, when I came here, it was pretty hard to find a part-time job. And even though I had some previous experience, but I was fortunate that during that time they changed some rules and they allow us to work more. And I think that also helped me to get into my first job, because during that time, I think it was 2022, I guess, right? Was a
Yeah.
COVID, all those things. And yeah, they just allow all students to work for more like 20 hours or 40 hours, whatever. And but yeah, I'd say it was hard because during that time I couldn't find any, part-time job in tech. Uh, and also I would say maybe a, lack of experience how to be in an interview, because back in my country, the process is kind of different, the way that the interview happens. And and when Dan was talking about the jobs and how things work here, how you need to read carefully all the the requirements they have when they post some jobs. The beauty here in Canada is whatever they put in the job description, it is those things that they're gonna ask you. That doesn't happen in my country. In my country, you might see some items that is just created by HR, and during the interview, you're gonna get like a lot of questions that you were like, oh, wait a second. I'm not sure if that's the position that I apply for, because there are a lot of questions that doesn't fit. So yeah, and I think it was just a matter of time just to understand how the process here works, how the interview happens, all the steps. You're gonna get like a screen phone call, you're gonna go through HR questions, and then you're gonna move to like a technical interview. You might have a second one with manager and all the team works that you were gonna work. And depend of some companies, you might get like the fifth interview, but was just a matter of getting used to it, understand how the process works. You might fail a few times, but that's fine. Just take it as a lessons learned. Make some notes, see just where you can improve, where was those mistakes that you made, and yeah, try again. Just
Yeah, perfect. One of the things that usually we're talking with the students is just not losing your hope, because here it's not like that. One, two, three, you get job. It takes time, and especially when you're coming from the school to the market, you see that industry is different. They're asking more difficult questions. Um, so I want to ask Dan that remember that it was last year that you applied for jobs, right? So um, we we want to go back to that time and talk about like how was the interviews, how um, like what lessons you learned through each interviews. I know that you pretty like Dan, you also had a great experience before coming to Canada. Yeah, you were working at least for 10 years, right? Before coming to Canada, right? Uh, and also your technical knowledge was perfect. Um, you had also cybersecurity courses and also network administration courses. Um, then when you wanted to start like job and interviews, um, you faced some challenges, like the question very difficult, right? Uh, let's talk about that and
Okay.
what lesson you learned.
Um, um, the most difficult interviews would be in Fortinet. That's one.
Yeah.
You have to know your stuff. You have to read. Um, Network, you have, especially if it comes to network related positions, you will really have to know your network from L2 to L3. Um, some IPsec may be squeezed in on some of the interviews. Um, yeah, reading the packet analysis from Wireshark. That's another thing. So that's one of the difficult interviews. I was just lucky enough to get called for a final interview. Because nobody gets that chance for Fortinet. Respect to that.
Yeah.
Huge respect. Also, as it was another challenge being an international student, because they had to refer my application to the immigration team in Fortinet, which was a surprise. They have their own immigration team.
Yeah,
So
some companies they have.
yeah, before they gave me the final interview, but unfortunately, unfortunately, Douglas gave me the offer first. So
Okay.
even if okay, even if you're turning your or if you're canceling an application that you made, at least give the recruiter the courtesy of letting them know, thanking them. These people are human. They will not forget you. Vancouver looks big, but the tech scene, it's small. Everyone knows everyone. So one of the reasons actually how I had my job is because of my references. And who were they? They're not big tech CEOs. They were my instructors. They were Hamid. They were a lot of my instructors coming from outside the country. Just as Rodrigo said, there's a different system here. I don't know who. Um, Nobody knows you as well as an applicant. You've never worked anywhere. Who do they call as your reference? Who knows how? I'm so sorry to mention the name. Who? How do I know Nick is a good worker? How do I know that Surab works well with things?
Yeah.
By their instructors. If I'm really interested in their application or this applicant, I would call the instructor. In terms of applying for jobs, I can remember 12 folders, meaning in a span of 3 months, I've applied for 12 jobs that I was able to save because that was the time that I learned that I jumped into an interview. I didn't read, or I remember the job description. I hit submit. I uploaded my resume. I customized it before uploading it. But when the interview date came, I forgot what was the entire job description. So I made it a point that, oh, if I see this job posting in Indeed, here's the description. I copy it, save it in Notepad, and then I make my resume. And then I create a folder for both, along with my cover letter. So if I get the call to be interviewed, oh, this will be an interview for 2 days from now. I will go and revisit that file I made. Also, they are into this. This is the job that I've applied for. So, that would build your confidence around it. If you need to take your notes or if you need to study your notes from your class, go do it. Because you don't want to be someone who's being interviewed for example, you decided to go for a help desk job, but you are giving them answers about network administration. You would give them a different impression. They would say, oh, this guy is going to come in and just tell me how to do my job. I'm sorry, no. Right? So, yeah, it took me 6 months before I landed a full-time job. So it was difficult. But, you know, just don't give up. Never, never. If you need to look for another part-time job while waiting, you know, do so as well because these people you will work with, your supervisors on your other job, will be your references as well. And if you'd never know, they would call definitely Douglas calls and does their background checks. They email the previous superiors. So yeah, don't give up. That's I don't have any motivational words or speeches for you, but just do not give up and learn to evolve during the process. Take notes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rodrigo, I have some questions like let's say I'm a fresh student, I prepare my resume. Some of the things that um, you can say about your resume, like how should be fancy, should have like decorated, should be simple, or where they should start? Like LinkedIn is very important or not important, Indeed, or which platform do you recommend for applying jobs?
So I'd say, as Dan just mentioned, so make sure that you read the job description and make sure that you have some keywords that match,
Mm,
what they are looking for. That would be my first advice. And in my case, all my jobs, I think, besides the first one, that was a global relay here, everything else, even back in my country and Fortinet, I got through LinkedIn. So I'm not sure how many people know it. I might be just, saying something that is very obvious, but uh, LinkedIn it's a platform that you have to, be consistent. So you have to have your profile activity. You have to log in regularly. So they have some, algorithms that will work in a way that it's how long it takes to respond someone. It's a response rate. So try to reply message as quick as possible. So LinkedIn will just tag your profile as responsive. So make sure you have your, profile complete. You fill out all the information, add all the required items on your profile, keywords, headline, and so on. So again, use same way that you have a resume, use some keywords, like SOC analyst, Python automation and, stuff like that. Depends what you are looking for. And last but not least, make sure that you again, be consistent. Like some posts, share some contents, and yeah, make some comments, be part of the community that you want to work, because again, that will put your profile, in a rank when someone search you, or when a recruiter is looking for someone, you will appear on top. It's not just matter who are paying LinkedIn and who is not. Again, just make sure that you regularly, use the LinkedIn. Use as the same way that you use, like, any other, like Instagram, Facebook. I would say even more, because, right, especially when you are looking for a job, you have to, be careful and put some effort to, as Dan mentioned, don't give up. I know it sounds like repetitive when someone say that, but as Dan mentioned, I didn't get my job at my first try at Fortinet. I failed at first. I went through the whole process. I got through the last interview, and I thought that it was doing great, but I failed. They decide to move on to another person. And I think it
mm.
was 3 or 4 months later, I tried again. Was a different position, and I got the job. So it's, keep trying, and you'll get there.
Yeah. So Dan, thank you, Rodrigo. I want to ask you some questions because this is the common questions that they're asking during the interview. What is your expectation and like in terms of compensation for the job? Like when you're a fresh student, for example, as a network admin, how do you answer this question? For example, you're saying, "Oh, I am okay with 40K, I'm okay with 50K, or I'm okay with 60K." So how do you respond to these questions? Usually the employer asking this question, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got the same question from some of the students I went with in BCIT. My usual answer is, if you don't have an experience, see it as an opportunity. Because I know some of the employers would give you a rate that is not. I know someone who started working for a car dealership as a support analyst, and the offer was about 60,000 or less,
Mm,
right? But in less than a year, he was able to get another job with a higher pay, something around 70, almost 75. It's only because he already had the experience to show on his next application. right?
Yeah.
So the employers usually during the interview, they would provide you, or they would offer you, or they would tell you, oh, this is how much the job pays. It's really up to you if you want to negotiate on that. You may try. Okay, don't be afraid to ask the employer as well, but consider it as an opportunity, because the moment you get that job, after 6 months or after a year, you can start picking. Eventually you would also apply for jobs again, and you're going to remember this session. What did we talk about? What were the lessons you learned? And it would be easier for you. That's number one. And number two, you would be more comfortable asking for a higher rate. I mean, imagine this. He just graduated last year. He started with, or the guy I was talking about started with about how much per year, which is not something that anyone in the tech industry would look up to. They would say, oh, he was robbed. Yeah, he was. But in a span of 8 months, he, you know, he got a better offer, almost 70 plus minus. That's what you mentioned. So yeah, and that's less than a year, guys. So that's just less than a year. So yeah, I mean, don't be discouraged by being lowballed, because eventually you will leave them. You know.
So, Rodrigo, I want to know your opinion also. How did you answer these questions to your employers?
So yeah, same way. I think during my first job, when I was, talk to the person and they asked me for numbers, I'm willing to discuss what the position can offer to me and if I'm going to be a good fit. And we can discuss numbers like later, because at that time for me, the most important thing was getting to a job. Of course, I never mentioned that, but in my mind, that was what I was thinking. Just, I don't want to discuss numbers right now. If they really, really push you to discuss, I'd say do some research and average how the
Mm,
market is being paid, and yeah, uh, usually some companies, they have some like, you can look into other job advertisements, or, some search on the internet. Some people might share how much they were being paid for that position in the past, and I think it was Ale that just shared. I haven't clicked on the link, but if this is a link where you can look up for salaries and IT, that's a pretty good resource. Just take a look in the average, and yeah, just throw a number like in between or close to that number, you know.
yeah, yeah, thank you. Ali also shared something that in the chat that's very useful if you want to see the uh, tech rate or salaries. Also, there's some websites, PayScale or um, yeah, the other one that I forgot that showing you the rate that the previous like employees they had in the company. So basically, you can look at the exactly the rate. Also, it's very good to research about the company. And this is my next question from Dan. That um, uh, for example, I'm employer, you're employee. Okay, so I wanna hire you, but how do you trust me? How do you know that I'm a good company? I'm not a fake company that I'm hiring you.
Oh yeah, I look at Glassdoor.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glassdoor. It would tell you the feedback of the employees. LinkedIn is so LinkedIn won't give you much, although they would show you who were previously employed, but I doubt someone would respond to you. So Glassdoor, and try to Google the company. Try to see. Try to see how they are performing. Yeah, mostly I look at Glassdoor, and I look at the cons or the negative comments from the employees, but I make sure that the employees that I read the comments on are those who are in the same department, such as IT. Okay, you might be reading someone else's comment saying, "Oh, this is not a good company," but then later on, it's Betty from accounting. So it's a different story. So you also have to look at that. Yeah, LinkedIn and because yeah, so pretty much yeah,
Yeah.
Glassdoor for me.
So one of the things also we are facing currently in the market that we don't have enough job for uh, like fresh students. Almost most of the jobs they are written like 3 to 4 years experience. And I haven't seen any job that said that, okay, we are hiring like grads and 1 year experience is okay. Most of the jobs, like I have seen that they have written this job description that minimum 3 to 5 year experience. For
No,
you guys, two guys, it works. But let's say someone who study in Canada or in coming from as an international here and they're doing like bachelor or diploma degree here in Canada. He or she doesn't have any experience here in Canada. So what do you say? How this person can get a job in the market?
the 3 to 5 year experience, I believe that's a wish list. I'm sorry to say that. I believe that I wish I get this applicant, but let's say out of 100 applicants, they would only see five, or probably 10 applicants who has 3 to 5 year experience in this in that kind of job. It also depends on the pay. So yeah, so that is a wish list for me, but I still apply to those, and I still
Mhm.
get responses to those. So it's not because I have experience. Um, One example is HSA. Uh, yeah, they got in touch with me one time, and their posting was at least 5 year experience as network administrator, right? And in terms of network administration, I may have 2 to 3 solid years on that, to be honest. So it's not 5 years. You still have a chance. It's just a matter of, just like what Rodrigo said, it's your resume. And in terms of getting a job, if you're not originally from Canada, you just have to learn how to create your resume according to their standard.
Mhm.
Because it's not the recruiter that you're after. The moment you're creating your resume, it's the ATS, the applicant tracking system, that you have to penetrate through, or you have to go through their ATS system so that they get your name up their list. And that's how I saw it.
Yeah. How about you, Rodrigo? What do you say about this type of jobs? Like they're asking 5 to 10 years experience, and you don't have that
Well,
experience.
as I second Dan, I think it's I would just add. I know most company they are not hiring fresh students or someone that has just graduated recently, but I'd say do as much as you can in your portfolio. That's what I like to call just create some articles that in a way that how you show the world that you know everything that you know before you get into the interview. I think it was a Surab question that sent through the chat. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name incorrect, but yeah, if you don't have experience, try as much as you can to share like all your knowledge. If you are studying something, doing some research, just write down like an article and publish it on LinkedIn or whatever. Have a GitHub account. Show the world that you were, everything that you were studying and all the knowledge that you have. Somehow you can prove it. It's somewhere there. It's either a video, it's an article that you just wrote, and I'd say mostly ignore those kind of things because most company they are putting some like, oh, it requires like 2 years experience. Just as Dan mentioned, by the end of the day, you just have to bypass their system. That's it. If your resume just get through, they're gonna call you, and then it's your moment. that's how you were going to show them that you know everything that you know. It's just a matter of getting to the first interview. As I mentioned before, during my first interview, I was just worrying how I get through that process, how I get a call. And it was funny because as soon as I got a call, that's what I did. I just, a week before, I build a lab, I do all my research, I read every single item that you were looking for. And it turns out when I start to share my screen, all the questions, start to be about my lab. And it was funny because I built the lab and everything they was, if they had questions or planned some questions before, they switch and they were like, oh, okay, how did you do that? And it was getting easier because I was, comfortable because the lab was built by myself and I could explain everything. So that is just one example. I'm not saying for every single time that you are going to an interview, build a lab or, that's what I did. And I'm just telling you my story and what works for me. And yeah, I'm a guy that it's a very technical guy. So I don't speak that much. Usually when it comes to theory, Hamid, Ali, they know me very well. And yeah, I prefer just, work with my keyboards and show how things really work behind the scene. And I take advantage of it. I create the lab because I know that I'm really good on it. And yeah, that's what I did. Turns out again, the interview became all about my lab. And yeah, that's my takeaway. Just show the world who you are, build some articles, just write down some articles, research, publish them all, and
Yeah, perfect. So one of the things also I learned from my previous student, they were saying that, okay, so because you know that some programs, when you're studying, they have project. Actually, most of programs, they have it. So putting that project in your resume is like you have you have experienced some things, like some devices. For example, you're saying that, okay, I built a project with the Cisco devices, I put this firewall, and I did this penetration testing. So you're saying that, okay, I have experienced this kind of scenario, and you're putting this one on your resume. They're looking at that one a lot. Like it's like a kind of job experience that you're putting on your resume. I can cover your gap, like as a fresh student, like when you don't have enough experience, putting this kind of thing like home lab or project that you have done at college or university is working fine for you. Um, so my last question probably, and then we just um, giving the students time to ask some questions. So my last question, how do you see the market, Dan? Do you think the market is good right now about like regarding a job or because you experience before COVID, after COVID, and right now?
Uh, I'm not sure if it was that long, but there are still jobs. There are still jobs. It's just that you have to make yourself available during the time. One of the good tips I've learned from you, Hamid, when I was still back in BCIT, was starting January, you have to prepare and look at these job openings because by April, these jobs most likely will be filled. This is because people are already leaving the organization before the end of the year. All right. And what happens is also after summer, you also still have to look for job postings. So, you know, you don't want to wait the next year or a few months from now, although you don't feel like, oh, I don't feel like taking the job, or I don't like working in service desk. You know, it the question is how long would you have to wait again for a job opening like that? So honestly, I mean, although I'm working as an infosec analyst right now. I still applied for service desk jobs when I graduated from BCIT. So it's what I believe is that you just have to get your foot in. It doesn't matter. I mean, getting your foot in is already hard. All right. So, you know, even if you want to work as a network admin, you still have bills to pay. You still have experience to build. So see it as an opportunity, not something that you would have to look down on. Take it as an opportunity. And you never know. Maybe the same company would give you that promotion that you were looking for. Maybe that same company would give you that net admin job that you were looking for. So today is June. So it may not be much, but there are still jobs in tech out there.
Mm.
There are still jobs in tech. You can network all you want. You can connect to everyone you want in LinkedIn, 100 connections. But if you don't submit that application, not even your connections can help you. I'm sorry. I'm just
Yeah.
being brutally honest here. No matter how many connections you make, if you do not make an effort to apply for that job, no matter how little it is, it's going to be hard. Just to answer Hamid's question, jobs are still there. Just make sure to actively seek or look for it online. They're still there. I've seen probably 10 or 12 this week in my LinkedIn feed. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys. Oh, you want to
can I
add
add
something?
just one thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the meantime when Dan was talking, and just don't be discouraged when you see those numbers, how many applicants has applied for that job. Because I talked to like many managers, and most of those numbers are people that are not even here in Canada. They cannot even work here. So it's like, I would say more than half of those numbers that you see, it's like people from everywhere that it's trying to apply. So again, if you see that number, don't be scared. Just apply for it. If you are here in Canada, you can work here legally. Apply, because that will, give you an leverage, or those people. And yeah, and I second Dan again. There is still jobs out there. Just you have to search and be consistent and don't give up. You know.
Perfect. Any comment? Dan, anything else you want to add?
No.
No more.
I mean,
Just
I've
just
already
keep
said too much.
applying.
Yeah, just keep applying.
Keep applying, you get the job. So thank you so much, Dan, Rodrigo, for being with us. I don't want to take your time because I asked you around 30 minutes. Now it's 45 minutes. So I
That's
don't
fine.
want to be. So thank you for being with us. I share your information on LinkedIn with everyone. So if they want to ask you more question, follow-up question, they directly can reach out to you guys and ask more question. Um, so if you want to leave, guys, have a good one, and we're gonna be in touch. Yeah, Dan also shared the LinkedIn profile. Yeah, you can reach out to Dan, and also I think Rodrigo also will share the profile.
I will
I
share
wanna,
my.
yeah, I will come back to Ali because Ali is silent. So um, let's start with Ali's journey, and let's Ali talk about like how he started the job, like how
You put me on
he,
the spot now.
yeah.
You're putting me on the spot. Yeah, it's really nice to hear from both of you. Dan, I've never met you. I'm more on the VCC side. Know Rodrigo. He was one of my first cohort students that, when I teach. But, it's good to hear from both of you, and really, good feedback to hear from, how you guys achieved, these jobs, how you're navigating all these issues that, a lot of students face. And, a lot of answers you mentioned, did stand out to me, because even when I was, student, which is, probably 7 years ago, not too long ago, I faced these problems. I don't think anything changed from back then. And we still face a lot of these issues. How do we stand out, in front of all these different applicants? Which is, I think it's a bit difficult, but, a few things you guys mentioned to start with is, do you have your own lab? Do you want to show your skills instead of just talking about it? Anyone can talk, anyone can cheat. And it's funny nowadays, all you can see all these videos on social media where people are trying to cheat on their interviews using all these new AI tools and answering these questions. And unfortunately, a lot of people are making it through. But obviously, when it comes to the job, things turn out to be different. So, few things that I want to mention is one thing I think Rodrigo or Dan you mentioned is how do I get, for example, a referral from an instructor if I've never had a job in Canada? This is, I think, very important question that most students think or assume that, oh, I'll finish, I'll ask my instructor to put in a referral for me. And the reason I mention is that yes, an instructor can do a referral, but what made you stand out in class that he's willing to do that referral? Is he just gonna say, yeah, he's a good student and that's it? Or can he push in the recruiter and tell them what you did in class, how you achieved, how's your personality, what, you know, how was your communication skills and all that, which a lot of students don't think about this stuff. If you don't put a good impression on your instructor, what do you expect them to come back for you? And correct me if I'm wrong, Hamid, I'm sure you agree on that as well. A lot, yeah.
Yeah,
It's just,
absolutely.
yeah, if you want a referral, you don't have a previous experience, you better impress your instructor. Otherwise, nothing guarantees that he's gonna put in a good word for you. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, usually
Uh,
instructors, what I realized, you need instructor for a long time. Like me now, right now, I'm in a position that they're asking me that, okay, what do you have any recommendation letter from like 15 years ago that you studying like a master degree, and I should find someone like at that time and then ask like that my professor that, okay, please give me a recommendation. You know, that's very good things that Ali is mentioning. Be always on that side that when you're coming back to school and ask your instructor that, okay, can you give me a recommendation? Then instructor is saying that, okay, of course, I'm giving you. But it happens sometimes that some students that, okay, I'm not giving you any recommendation. I know you. You're always being late. You don't submit any like assignment. So uh, Ali is
yeah,
mentioning good find.
definitely that's a big one because I see it a lot. I'm sure Hamid, you're seeing or hearing that a lot, and at some point you're like, why do I have to do that? If they're gonna come back to me, it's gonna look bad on me anyway. So I'd rather not give recommendation if it's not worth it, and I stand by it. And that's it. A few other things as well you guys mentioned is talking about LinkedIn, how important it is in today's world. When you look at any job posting where it says 3 years, 5 years, 10 years experience, it doesn't matter as well. As you mentioned, if you don't try, you'll never know. And a lot of time, 3 years or 5 years, some companies think of it in two different ways. And that's one thing I notice a lot in the industry. Big companies, they are willing to train you, they are willing to spend the money on you, take the time on you, let you shadow colleagues, learn from them, and pretty much they are investing money in you, and you need to learn as much as you can from that. Compared to smaller companies, usually they're a bit on the opposite. They don't have time to spend, they don't have money to spend. They want someone off the shelf, ready with experience. You start next day, you know what you're doing. So these are very important things that most people don't think about, don't understand. That maybe getting into a bigger company is actually much easier than the smaller one. Going back to my experience, back to I went off your question, but the first job I got, in a big corporation, when I joined IBM, the job posting I applied, 10 years experience. I literally graduated 2-3 years ago, probably wasted 1 year not doing anything, another year trying to find a job, and third year was doing, basic IT support position. But it didn't stop me from applying. Why not? I've always wanted to work at IBM. I applied, and a few months in, they called me. I don't even remember which posting I applied, just as you mentioned, Rodrigo. And then keep track of what you're applying, because when the time comes, you need to know what you're applying for. And all it took for me is just impress the manager. He asked me a few questions. I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. Never heard of it. But one thing I told them that I'm willing to learn if you give me the chance. That's all it took. And believe it or not, 5 years in, I'm already still here, mastering what I'm doing. And, they can't get rid of me right now. So it's about
Perfect.
luck sometimes. You gotta impress someone. It's not just about your technical skills. Sometimes they want someone who can sit in front of customer, talk to a customer, lead a project on their own, and not just say, "Yep, I know this, and that," but you can't even communicate with your manager or your client. So there's a lot of approaches that most people don't think about. And last thing I wanted to mention is resumes and LinkedIn, how important these are. Most people have one resume, very generic. They apply, apply, and you see those posts. I applied 700 jobs, I only got 2 interviews. Well, clearly your resume is not doing you a good job. Most important thing, every job should have its own resume. It's a lot of work. Not really in today's world. We all use AI. You can simply modify any resume based on any job posting. You should take advantage of it. You should learn how to use it, and it will definitely guarantee you at least a phone call or something. As Dan mentioned, the ATS system. If it's not going to find those keywords in the job, it's going to get rejected right away. It's not, no eyes will see that resume at all. So every job should have its own resume. It should be tailored to it. And obviously, don't lie too much on your resume. A lot of people try to push too much on the resume. Sure, you can oversell yourself, which is not bad, but at least you need to have some confidence to know and understand what you're doing as well.
So Ali, what
Um,
do you think? How many? Just because this is a question usually asking me a lot. Like, how many pages putting in the resume is good for us? Like 2 pages, 1 pages. What do you recommend?
One thing you mentioned, looking at resumes, how fancy it should be, how it should look like. Keep in mind, nobody looks at resumes. When you're entering your information on a system that just takes input and it says, hey, upload your resume, sure, it's going to be there, but technically all this data is being input in a field. It's going to be filtered in a way where it's just easy, simple for a recruiter to read. So adding too much, in my opinion, is useless.
Mhm.
Going to straight to the point, what's your skills, how you achieve your past job, what changes, and putting some metrics in those are very important because people want to see how good did you do in your job. Some people, you see them, oh, I increased productivity by 30%. Using automation, I was able to achieve this and that. They want to see these kind of skills, not just, oh, I did this on my job and that's it. I specialize in Fortinet and that's it. Well, you specialize in Fortinet. What do you do in Fortinet? That's just an example. Forti Analyzer, Forti, whatever SOAR they have, Forti everything they have. So being specific on what you do and what you're good at is the most important thing. Plus using those keywords that the job posting is looking, because that's the ATS, what they're looking for. So I would say simple, short, don't give them a 4-page resume and don't give them just a single page resume. Keep it, around that 2 page is good enough.
And one more thing about like the question they're asking about the pay, like compensation. What do you say about that? Like, how do you answer
Definitely,
the question?
that's a really good one. In this industry, it ranges a lot. One thing I learned as well, companies do put higher salaries than they're actually offering sometimes. You'll see a job posting for 100K. When it comes to the actual position, they're giving you numbers that could be 80,000. You're gonna ask them, oh, why is it? They're gonna tell you, oh, it's top talents, this, and that. But technically, you got a bargain here and there. But understanding the market, what does it pay? and then you can position yourself whether you want to go high on it or low on that range. In my opinion, go as high as you can because eventually they're gonna say, "Oh, this is too high. We're only offering this much."
Yeah,
If you
perfect.
give yourself, under market, sure they're gonna love it. They're not gonna say no. But if they're a decent, honest company, they're not gonna say, "Well, we're offering more and give you that money." So, understanding the market, that link I posted is very good. They keep updating it, you know, on a yearly basis, and it's good to understand what you're applying, how big the company is, and how you can position yourself into salaries.
And one more thing, because Ali, what about certification? Like, what type of certificate you recommend for example, getting networking job?
To me, depending on your skill as well, but for students who are trying to get in and start from somewhere, Dan mentioned getting your foot in the door is the most important thing. The rest, you can do whatever you want. You get in, you start the job, you don't like it, keep looking for something else until you find it. You get an offer, move on. You want to work harder, you can, but I would suggest always starting with that A plus network plus. You need to learn your hardware. You need to understand how basic computers work, how basic networking works. The rest you can learn it on the job. But those I think are foundation. A lot of people might disagree or agree, I'm not sure, but in my opinion, if you don't know how hardware work, how basic network work, you're not going to be a system or network admin in your life. It's going to be a very difficult learning curve to go beyond that, in my opinion.
Um, One of the question you may not face it, or maybe you face it. One of my previous students, like 4 years ago, um, asked me that, "Hey, Hamid, I got a very good offer after like he got a job. He got a very good offer. Like it was 7K more than the previous job, and asked me that, hey, if I move to the new company, is good or it has a bad influence on my previous resume. So how do you, for example, if someone today asking you, Ali, I give you 7K more, are you coming to my company? Or you do more research and you're saying, oh no, your company is, I don't think is good. I'm not coming for 7K more to your company. So how
Yeah,
do you answer the question?
it all depends on your situation and what you're trying to achieve. Because if somebody's offering you 7K more or 10K more, whatever you think, it's an okay raise, not too good, not too high, you're going to think of how comfortable are you in your current job.
Hmm.
Because if you're not liking your day-to-day job, you're not happy, you're feeling very miserable, you don't like your marriage, then even if you give me 1K more, I'm gonna leave at the end of the day. But for some people, 7K can make a big difference. For some, they're like, you know what, with 7K, there's gonna be 10 times that responsibility, and I'm not ready to take it or willing to take it
Hmm.
and leave it there. I'll give you an example. My uh, one of the jobs I took, I was working as a hardware technician at HP. You call HP, you broke your laptop, I'm the guy that comes and fix it to your home, your business, or whatever. To me, the pay was very low, but I got a lot of benefits. They give me a brand new car, they're paying the gas, they're paying whatever you want, you go wherever you want, you get 5 tickets a day, you finish early, 10 a.m. I was very happy with it. It was very relaxed, very easy. I didn't have to worry about anything. But at some point, I realized that I'm driving a lot. I'm getting really tired of it, going from one place to another. I realized that, you know what? Yes, I'm getting a lot of good benefits, but I was just too tired at the end of the day. So I looked for something more of a relaxed, easy job, even though it paid less, but I didn't care. At least I know myself that I'm not jumping every single day from one place to another and all that. So for people, they need to understand what works best for them and what makes them comfortable at the end of the day. Because as you mentioned, 7K can be a lot or could be nothing based on your situation.
Yeah, true. So you should first do a research to see that how the companies, and after that, based on your uh, lifestyle, you can make a decision. It's a big decision. Sometimes a student ask me that, like, some of them, they're in touch with me, and after many years, they're coming back and ask me, hey, I got a new job. They're offering this one. What do you suggest? And it's very hard for me because I'm not in their position to make a decision for them. So they're asking me, oh, do you recommend to jump to another job? And what I realized, jumping from one job to another job in a year is not good. Like if you're jumping 3 times, 4 times in a year,
You're
it's
not
not
learning
good.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing. I see some colleagues that I work with, at IBM, and a lot of them been there for 15, 20, 30 years even.
Yes.
They're happy. They're not willing to move. Even if you pay them, 50,000 more, they don't care. For them, it's job security. They're happy. They're enjoying it. There's flexibility, and that's it. Maybe on the younger generation, as you mentioned, they like to move from one place to another because they can't keep anything, still for too long. Nowadays, everything's moving too fast. If you're good at what you're doing, sure, I'm sure you have the benefit of moving from one place to another. But otherwise, if you're comfortable where you're at, I think it's never a bad idea to stay and look for either a raise, ask your manager for a promotion, or whatever it is. Because also keep in mind, a lot of companies they have so many different positions that you can move within internally. So that's also an option as
Yeah.
well.
So my last question, Ali, and then we open session for everyone to ask question. Um, so how do you see the market currently? Like, um, is there any jobs more than previous year? Because I know that you're looking at the market a lot, and you know how many jobs every year like is coming for IT, networking, What do you see this year?
You know, I'm trying, or I want to try not to use the word AI, even though it's a big thing nowadays. Definitely, that's a trend that's gonna pop up a lot. But honestly, there's never shortage of IT positions. Businesses are growing; they want more people in, and the flood of these positions it's crazy. There's so much jobs out there that most people don't. They're not willing to take that extra step, as I mentioned earlier, to fix their resume, customize different resumes, and apply to what they're looking for. In my opinion, I think a lot of cybersecurity jobs are opening and showing up a lot, but keep in mind, most people will try to jump into those. Going back to my initial, talk about certification. If you don't know your hardware, you don't know your network, don't expect to get that cybersecurity job. No
Mhm.
one's gonna hire you if you don't know how network works. No one's gonna hire you if you don't know how to do basic, Windows device hardening. Those skills are essential, and still using on the IT support and technician, there's a lot of these positions open. And I think those are the jobs that AI won't take or replace because people still want to call someone, talk to someone, get support from someone. If you tell me about coding and programming and web development, I think forget about this. This is getting, less and less. And even I think last week I was watching a interview between what's his name, Mark Zuckerberg, and what was the Microsoft CEO, and they literally said on the talk, 40% of our code now is AI. Maybe in a year or two, it's going to be 60%. So these positions definitely are getting much harder to get, but other positions are really, popping up now because there's just too much of it.
Mm. Yeah, you're true because AI is a game changer, and um, definitely we are facing a new jobs in the market, but also some people prefer, like some companies prefer to have like automation, and they're using definitely I today I heard from the Google also is asking employees, you can leave the company and they pay for that period of time. So that raise on the LinkedIn that, Google again asking employees to leave the company. You know, it may happen soon in every section of the job, like not IT and cybersecurity. It can be for every job, but it depends how we can uh, use the AI technology in different sectors. I know that, for example, some sectors will affect very soon, but definitely we will facing a new jobs, and also some jobs is going to be obsolete in the market.
I just want
Uh,
to answer a question from Sarah. I mean, if you don't mind,
yeah, yeah,
she was asking if suggesting IT support network administrator are good. Keep in mind, Sarah, in today's world, everything relates back to cybersecurity. Whether you're into IT support, network administrator, system administrator, whatever it is, security is a big piece of it. You don't need that title that says I'm a security analyst or whatever it is that says you're into security. Today's world, everything's about security. If you can, again, do basic OS hardening, falls under security. If you can't secure your network properly, again, you don't have to be a security analyst or whatever it is that calls yourself security. In my opinion, most people look down on IT support very much. Yes, it's a very beginner job, but doesn't stay that. I've seen people start with IT support position with 40K a year, and I've seen IT support doing 80 or 90K per year. So there's different levels of tier of support, tier one, tier two, and so on. There's different levels as well. So I always tell students, don't let that IT support word discourage you, because it's a lot of fun, honestly. In my opinion, I've started there. I still love it, no matter what. It's a skill you will never forget and will always come in handy no matter what, because those skills will follow you forever. And trust me, I think, for most people can do a lot of good money with IT support. You just need to know how to do it.
yeah. We just open. If you have any question, guys, you can ask from. I see that Rodrigo also down here also. If you're asking any of these guys, Ali, Rodrigo, or Dan, you can ask your question. Someone, Joseph? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm in a different scenario. I've been in the industry for a very, very long time, probably since 2000. Even before that, I had my own computer store in the mid 90s. My situation is after taking many of my certifications, A plus, Net plus, CCNA, all that stuff, back in the early 2000, I landed a very good job with National Cash Register, NCR, and I was put into a position where I was doing main installs, but it's a very niche market. So as far as the IT, and there's not a lot of other industries that are similar. So my solution after an injury, a back injury, was to re-educate and redo my expired certifications since I didn't use a lot of them. And now having a lot of experience, but not so much in the, let's say, system admin or even network admin area, although I'm very knowledge on it and certified in a lot of it. I haven't used it a lot, and I haven't had any enterprise type experience. So my dilemma here is having to meet the salary rate that I require in order to live, um, and then also fresh out of, let's say, college with new diploma or whatever, and then trying to get my foot in the door onto something that's been mainstream for a while, but I haven't been able to penetrate due to my niche type job that I had for 15 years. So I guess I don't really understand my question, even though I have one. I guess I'm trying to form one. I'm trying to, how would I sell myself, I guess, to an employer, having that much experience, but it's in such a niche market that it would apply, but not 100% into like an enterprise type environment. Even though I worked for an enterprise company, but it's like I said, I did POS systems and ATMs. So, I mean, that's far away from, you know, uh, networking and, system administrator, even though that's not really what I'm looking for, but more into the cybersecurity. But I have no experience in that at all. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
how do I sell myself in a way that I can use my experience as well? That's, I guess, my problem.
Yeah, I can rephrase your question. Is like
Okay.
that. Your salary should be like now around 120K, but the
Yeah.
job that they're offering you is like 50K.
Yeah.
You're asking us how you can
Include my,
sell yourself to employer to get your 120K that you deserve.
yeah, because of the experience that I do have, even though it's, I guess separated from where I'm going,
Yeah. Hey
but still
guys, you can answer
legitimate.
questions. Ali, you want to go?
Oh, he's already answered that somewhat in a way before, but
Yeah, I can, I guess, talk a bit more on this issue. In my opinion, to start with, I think Vancouver or Canada in general, I wouldn't say it's a very high paying IT jobs. That's my opinion. That's what I've been seeing. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're working at IBM, you should be making, $500,000." Well, unfortunately, it's not the case. We all want that very high paying position. And I learned something again, which might benefit you as well, Dennis, is usually if you're looking at a very high paid position, especially with some experience, contracting work is the way to go to. A lot of time contractors will pay much higher than your regular company or regular, salary that you might go full time. Because again, a lot of people say, you know what, I want the job security, go full time. I'm happy with there. I'll make 80,000 or 60,000, whatever it is. You go contractor, you're making double or even triple that. The risk, sure, it's a contract. It ends 6 months, 1 year, but that's something that a lot of people need to accept that you want the big bucks, there's not much risk into it. Or you
I,
gotta
I do want
provide
to,
some.
I do want to
Like,
add, I am okay with taking a reduction.
so
Like,
you
80 would be a good start for me. Whereas a lot of what I'm looking at is between 50, 60. That's my issue, right? I'm okay to start down at the bottom of something, but like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, I guess.
well,
Yep.
I'll give you an example. Literally, my first position in Canada after university, I got an IT support position. I'm not gonna say where because I don't like it, but it was a night shift, answering phone calls, the worst kind of IT position or support you can ever get. And their offer was, believe it or not, was 38,000 a year, and that was unheard. But for me, it was whatever. Either I sit at home and do nothing, or take 38K a year. Sure, it wasn't much. Third day, I just was bored, looked into their system. Nothing was secure. I accessed HR files. Found how much everybody makes on the job. And the next morning, I went in. I told the CEO, "Hey, you either give me a raise, I'll clean up your mess, or I'm leaving." By 4 p.m., I got a 60K position. Literally, it took me 3 days to increase for 40K. So sometimes you gotta do something that either press someone, or you gotta keep aiming for these high positions and really sell yourself to it. Because at the end of the day, we all talk about LinkedIn, you gotta showcase. A lot of recruiters nowadays are on LinkedIn. If they see that dead profile, nothing's happening on it, they're gonna say, you know what, this guy doesn't invest in himself, doesn't sell himself. Some others are doing way more. That's why we always push about, show what you're doing, show what you're learning. I know you, Dennis, really well. You have a lot of servers at home. You need to start showing that skill because that's what everybody's looking for. They want to know what you're doing, what you're learning, and what your skills are. Because we all can talk about it, but very few actually show it.
That makes a good point. Yeah, you're right. I guess brushing up on my documenting skills are needed.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the things also keep updating yourself, even us that we are talking here, if we lose the job, then we should update ourselves to enter to the market because always market demand something which is buzzword. Like of 3-4 years ago, it was cybersecurity. Now it's AI technology and automation. So if you want to enter any jobs, if you look at the job description nowadays, they're saying that, okay, you should have AI skill as well. So keep updating yourself is kind of things that gives you more value when you're applying for jobs.
Yeah, that's why I'm in the cybersecurity diploma.
Yes.
Yeah. But yes, good point.
Dan, do you want to say something? You were raising your hand.
Oh yeah. I understand, Dennis, that you said that you had the experience, but you were in the niche market, or it was something more of a unique um type of work that you did. Um, just as what Sarah asked, so it's something similar. For those of us who think that, oh, we're in a unique corner of the industry, it's more about making yourself relatable to the job that you're applying for. So, one of the good examples of that is if you're working in, for example, you're working in customer service or sales. How can you relate that to the job that you're applying for? Right? So, what I'm trying to say here is that sometimes the soft skills or sometimes the skills that you have, you underestimate it, but you never know when this organization needs it. Or maybe it's something that they're looking for. I've been working with IT technologists for years. And one of the issues that I keep on hearing from my supervisor is the people skills. They don't know how to talk to people. So there was a time that they had to hire someone with customer service experience, and it was hard to get by. You see, so if you feel like you have been out in the corner for some time, no, you just have to make yourself relatable to the job. Okay, it's not just about, you know, oh, because you were working on this, you're still fixing hardware, even if it's an ATM. Mechanical aptitude and electronic aptitude is still required for that kind of job. So, you know, don't think of yourself as someone who's just not qualified at all. It's something that, it's something unique that you can showcase to your application and relate it to the job. So maybe I hope I answered some of your questions there when
Yeah,
it comes to the
absolutely.
type of job.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, when I have Chat GPT kind of massage my resume, they pull out a lot of my skills and apply it to the job description in a way that I never thought of. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. So another question, any questions? Ali, do you want to add some comment or suggestion at the end?
Honestly, Dennis, you have a lot of skills. Don't think it can never be used. As you mentioned, ChatGPT can help you showcase and highlight these. Use them with a bit of different wording or buzzwords. Definitely, you gotta sell yourself at the end of the day. And for everyone else, I think, in my opinion, be loud wherever you go. Let people know your face. Let them know your name, because you never know when somebody's looking for someone, they're gonna remember that face and they say, "Oh, I met this guy somewhere. I spoke to this guy. I've seen this guy work on LinkedIn." Whatever it is, they're gonna come to you rather than you going to them. So definitely put yourself out there, and it's just a matter of waiting.
Yeah. I think we are ending the session. So I don't see any question on the chat. I assume that no one has a question. Thank you again, Dan, Rodrigo, and Ali, for being with us in the session. And uh, definitely your useful information. Um, uh, Other students can use it for the future when they are applying for jobs and when they are doing interview. We may have some more sessions, like not this kind of sessions. We will have a technical sessions with Ali because I asked Ali that if we can have some technical sessions. So be in touch. We have created LinkedIn page for Talk Tech for You Foundation. Be in touch. We are posting maybe monthly, weekly, some events, and you can be in touch um, with Talk Tech for You, and we are posting some useful information related to tech. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one, and see you.
Thanks so much, Amin. Everyone, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you, guys.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you.